Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil. And who is with us here after destroying possibly one of our best episodes?
Hey, guys. I ruined everything.
The Wi-Fi at your hotel ruined everything.
That's right.
Yeah, I put out a little mini, informational segment just saying why we didn't have an episode for last week. It's because there was some technical difficulties, too boring to go into, but it was pretty much a faulty hotel Wi-Fi, and I wasn't able to get all the full, complete audio track for David's part of the session, but it was a good episode. I was really impressed, and it'll be like we had a Fright Night episode that was lost for like a year, and then we finally decided to redo it, so we'll swing back to The Shining probably closer to spooky season and talk about that again.
Why is your son spinning around in the background like Jodie Foster and Nell? What's going on? Instead, blowing in the wind.
He went to get the Kleenex, I think. He's behind me playing PlayStation, but he was went to get Kleenex. But today we're going to talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit as part of Fantasy February. I couldn't think of like a good like sword and sorcery type fantasy movie, and so
Conan.
Well, you know, I thought maybe we do 200 episodes. We'll do Conan Revisited. You know, just kind of to get David in on that one. So, yeah. So, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Next week will be The Princess Bride, then The Fellowship of the Ring, and then a really cheesy, awful one going back to our roots with The Sword and the Sorcerer. If you remember that one with the lots of boobs and the guy with the three-bladed sword and
that shoots him out.
Yeah.
They used to bug me, like how he got enough velocity off that to actually do damage.
Because it always looked like it was shooting into the dirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was like a little tiny ballpoint pen spring in the handle of that thing. It was like chucking them at people.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for it today, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be so bad it's good. So I'm looking forward to doing The Sword and the Sorcerer. But today we're doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But before we jump into that, though, we're going to do what we always do. David, did you watch anything this week?
I did. I watched these videos on YouTube. For some reason, I went down this rabbit hole and I watched this dude that does these dioramas. And he did one of drunk Mel Gibson. And so he creates like this giant life-size thing of the face and then scans it and then makes a diorama of when Mel Gibson got arrested. And then he puts it in a giant Tupperware thing and goes and buries it somewhere and hides the coordinates in the video. But the one you guys will enjoy was he did one of Steven Seagal getting, I guess, flipped over by a stuntman. And there's some story of how some stuntman was showing Steven Seagal something and just fucking flipped him over. But the guy built the diorama where Steven Seagal was shitting his pants when he got flipped over, and then he buried it. And so in the video at the end, he just says, well, the coordinates are in the video, and if you want this diorama of Steven Seagal shitting his pants, go find it. And so, yeah, he just buries all these dioramas that he builds.
Sounds unusual, kind of odd.
Yeah,
entertaining though. I'll probably watch that.
I don't know how I found it, but that's all I watched this week was those diorama videos.
Wow.
Yeah,
Neil, how about you? What did you watch this week?
So there is the Disney series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd read all those books with my kid, so we started watching those. So we watched like one every night, and then that led me to thinking like I wanted to rewatch Game of Thrones. Oh. So I started rewatching Game of Thrones, and the rest of the week was just super busy with like band stuff and playing and all sorts of Scottish shenanigans and kilts with whiskey and bagpipes. So that's really all I got around to. How about you?
Well, first of all, is the Percy Jackson series more faithful to the book than the movies were?
I don't remember. We read them when he was really little, so I remember moments. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to go into the the casino, and it's going to slow time down. Okay, they're going to run into Medusa. Okay, he's going to meet his dad and get these pearls, but like the details of it, I don't remember, because that's what I do on my commute is we listen to books. Well, except for this last year, he's in high school now, so all he wants to do is just listen to stuff or watch videos on his phone because he's not looking forward to going to class.
Mm-hmm.
But I because my commute's like a half hour, I listen to a lot of books. So I don't remember. I mean, ish. I'm going to go with ish.
Okay, cool.
It's entertaining.
Since football season is pretty much over, the championship games are tomorrow. There's a big gaping football-sized hole in my life, so I've been watching a lot of movies. Going back to, I watched, and I called in sick one day, so on that day I watched Stripes in the morning, which was awesome. Still really, really funny. Army training, sir. It's still really funny. 80s comedy. And a lot of good people in that movie. And then I watched Dread, which I admit I had never seen before. The Carl Urban Dread that came out in 2012. I always heard it was really, really good, but I just hadn't had a chance to watch it. But I wasn't doing anything, and I was sitting on the couch. So it's on Netflix, and I watched it. And it was really, really good. Really, really violent. Lots of action, gore, and just, balls to the wall from the beginning till the end. It's only an hour and 44 minutes. And it's a lot like The Raid, where there's like they're trying to fight their way to the top of this apartment complex type situation, and they just run into all sorts of resistance and killing people left and right and stuff. So it was pretty good. I would recommend it.
I'd forgotten that we'd even talked about that. I'm definitely not opening up the Netflix app on my phone as we talk to start that. So it will be in my, hey, you never finished it.
Yeah, but it is really good. I was really impressed with it. Then I watched The Fellowship of the Ring was on like the day before yesterday, and I was like taking a nap, and that was on, and I kind of watched it the last 2/3 of it and enjoyed it. And then I watched This Is Spinal Tap yesterday, which is amazing, and we should do that movie someday. But I'm always afraid to do comedies because all we would do is just, man, remember that movie? Remember this part? It was awesome. Remember that part? It was awesome.
On rhythm bass, on lead bass, and on bass.
Yeah, it's such an amazing comedy. There's so many just lines. They just throw away awesome lines because it's just so much improv, and it's just endlessly funny to me. And it's such a quick movie, and I always see something new or hear something new that I didn't remember. There's this part where they're having issues with getting the hotel rooms, and Ian is trying to work it out, and they meet this guy. He's like a more famous rock and roll Duke Fames or whatever his name, Duke something. And then his manager is like, "Oh, we'd like to stay around and talk, but we're going to wait in the lobby for the limo." And it's just a throwaway line, like such a diss, but it just makes me laugh so much. It's such a great movie. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's amazing.
Stonehenge kills me. Kills me every single time.
And there's so many rock and roll stars or performers say that movie is so true to life, where there's technical difficulties and you forget which city you're in, you get lost backstage, all those things that really, really happen. So yeah, I think it was Ozzy Osbourne or one of some band was talking about how they thought they hated it because they thought they were making fun of them. It's like, they're just making fun of us. They're making fun of us. But like, no, they're making fun of everybody. And then it just hit too close to home for a lot of bands until later. But amazing movie. But we're talking about
let's go away from amazing movies and let's talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. It is a highly regarded movie. And people really, really love it, but I always feel disappointed when I see it. And it's not that I'm disappointed in the technical aspects of the movie and the time they took and all the acting with animation and everything. And there's a few really awesome scenes in it, but I think the total of the movie is not as good as just pieces of the movie. And Neil's sign in is boring AF, and yeah, it's kind of boring sometimes. For a movie with animated characters, you would think that it would be a little more lively.
I love animated movies. I love hand-drawn animated movies, but the animation bugged me.
Mhm.
But we already talked about that, but we may as well share this with everybody that's listening, all four of you. Yeah, like there would be like weird perspective shifts in the characters, like inconsistencies when they're acting with a actual like object, like stepping over something. How there was always like a slight shudder to the character. It bugged me. Take more care. Have some pride.
Well, this movie had a 14-month post-production period where they're drawing everything, and they were up against the wall and had a limited number of animators, and they're doing as much as they could. And I think to me, the animation looks really, really good considering there is no digital effects, no digital assistance. It's all hand-drawn and done in, that old-fashioned way. And I appreciate how that really the amount of time and energy it took to do that. David, when did you first see it, and what do you feel about it?
I mean, I probably saw it when I was young, but this is the first time I've seen it in about 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it brought back some memories, and yeah, I guess I don't have too many complaints about the animation for 1988. It was probably groundbreaking.
Well, I think this movie kind of spurred on the second wave of Disney, the Disney Renaissance with The Little Mermaid came out, and Beauty and the Beast, and a lot of those movies that kind of came out after this that are really highly regarded. This was in that kind of initial phase of that. And Robert Zemeckis directed, and we have talked about Robert Zemeckis before and his kind of a unusual filmography, different styles of movies. And of course, he did Back to the Future before this. And they got basically, he didn't get the green light early in his career because he wanted to do this, but his first couple of movies were bombs, like Used Cars. And then he wanted to do it again. And then after Back to the Future came out, they got the green light. And this movie went through development hell because the story, the book, Who Censored Roger Rabbit, came out in like 1981. And people had the option to make the movie, but it was just overdeveloped and got bounced around and shuffled around. And it was supposed to be only $30 million, but wound up costing $50 million. And it was the most expensive animated movie at the time when it came out. So I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I remember leaving disappointed. I was 15, and I was just like, oh, that was all right. That was okay. But, and just kind of like Neil said earlier, I'm a huge animation fan, and I have a huge reverence for Warner Brothers cartoons, the Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes cartoons. I love the Hanna-Barbera, Tom and Jerry, Tex Avery, Droopy cartoons. I never really cared too much for the Disney cartoons because I always thought they were so cutesy and didn't have that edge that the other ones did.
Same, exactly the same. But that's my like golden reference for animation is that early Bugs Bunny. Because it's just so well drawn and it's so smooth. And I don't think Roger Rabbit had that. Where'd that extra $20 million go? That's where I think it went. Well, let's think of some things to do here.
Cocaine was a hell of a drug in the 80s.
Well, there's a really good 36-minute documentary about the making of Roger Rabbit. If you're watching it on Disney Plus, if you go to the extras, and it's like Who Filmed Roger Rabbit, and they show the process of making the movie, and they would have the voice actor off screen to read the lines back to Bob Hoskins, and then they would do one run through with puppets, like a stand-in, to get the lighting and Bob Hoskins' eye line to make sure that he's looking at the correct thing, and then they would do it without it so they could animate the characters in later. And Bob Hoskins went to mime school and did all this kind of stuff so he could mime grabbing Roger Rabbit and doing all this stuff to make it as real as possible. And in some ways, it really works.
In some ways. I mean, I did learn a little bit. I'm not going to watch a 36-minute film on the making of this because I think I've already given too much of my life away to Roger Rabbit, watching it the first time in Farmington, New Mexico, and then probably watching it for the second time ever as an adult at nearly 52 years of age. I did learn some things. One of the things I learned is that Bob Hoskins is an unironically hairy man.
Oh yeah, he is super hairy.
Just didn't give any craps. The other thing, when I was watching this, I was remembering the buildup because not all of us had cable TV like you did, because I was just waiting for you to bring it up. So I'm bringing it up myself, you son of a bitch. And I would stay up late. I had a little tiny TV that was black and white, and I could turn the contrast down and listen to late night TV. I had a little earplug, and I could do that with. And the guy who voiced Roger Rabbit was kind of like a niche comedian at the time. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, Charles Fleischer.
Yeah. And I remember listening to him and thinking, oh, this is going to be great. Because he was talking about how people would like see him. He would wear a rabbit costume. And they would talk about how great this movie is going to be. And they say, oh, that guy, I'd seen him in the costume. This is going to be shit. I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. And they're going to animate it. And then just feeling a little underwhelmed after I saw it. Just a little bit. And I can't think of the name of it now. There is a movie where Melissa McCarthy plays a detective, but instead of cartoons, they're Muppets.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie because I heard it was bad.
Trailers.
No. If you can sit through this, you can sit through that. There is a scene with a Muppet orgasm that is over the top that you need to watch. Everybody listening, if you have not seen a Muppet orgasm, you need to tune in and watch that film. It's worth it just for that.
It looked real funny to me when I saw the trailers, but then I heard it got such bad reviews, and I was like, maybe I'll see it. But I haven't seen it anywhere streaming lately, and that's one of those movies I would watch if it was just like it didn't have anything going on. I'm like, oh well, this looks funny. I'll watch it. Like I haven't watched the movie with the talking dogs yet. It's on Peacock, and it looks like something that I would watch. It's stupid and funny.
I've thought about it, but I don't. I've found myself being a little more full of self-worth and pride in the last couple of weeks that I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to just like someone say, have you watched the movie with the talking dogs? I just want to be able to look them dead in the face with all the pride I can muster and go, no, I have not.
How dare you say that?
How dare you ask if I have watched that movie?
Do you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline there?
When a cartoon rabbit is accused of murder, he enlists the help of a burnt-out private investigator to prove his innocence.
All right. Decent tagline, not terrible. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman. And I'll say it again because you'll go, who?
Who?
Seaman.
Mr. Who?
Peter S. Seaman. And it was based on the book Who Censored Roger Rabbit.
I don't step over your favorite jokes, do I? No. I don't do that. I let you roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I should have just let you roll. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Selfish.
Cinematography by one of our favorites, Dean Cundy.
Who?
Dean Cundy. But
it's not even dirty, but it sounds dirty enough.
But he is just awesome. He has done so many amazing movies, including Black Shampoo, Ilsa, Harem Keeper of the Oil Sheiks, Satan's Cheerleaders, the original Halloween, Rock and Roll High School, Roller Boogie, The Fog, Galaxina, Jaws of Satan, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, The Thing. So he did a lot of John Carpenter. So that John Carpenter look that we're used to, he's responsible for a lot of it. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, DC Cab. Remember DC Cab?
I went and watched that just because of Mr. T.
Yeah. They had like the Barbarian Brothers were in it too, weren't they? Yep. Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future, Warning Sign, Big Trouble in Little China. So he is Roadhouse. Speaking of Roadhouse, did you see the trailer with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
It's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime, so might be worth checking out.
They owe Chael Sonnen some royalties for that trailer. They owe Chael Sonnen. Uncle Chael needs to get some money for that. You're too close. Bam, with the headbutt. If you're close enough to grab my Lucky Charms, you're too close to me.
He did Nothing But Trouble, which I've only ever seen once, and I kind of want to watch again with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. Remember that really weird ass movie, John Candy and Demi Moore. Also, The Digital Underground and Tupac were in the movie.
Oh yes. Now I remember that.
Uh-huh.
That was another thing I saw in the theater that I kind of walked out like, what have I done?
What have I done? Yeah, Hook, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park. So he's pretty much done just a huge amount of good movies, and he's all over the map when it comes to the quality of movies. So good job on you, Dean Cundy, for doing a lot of great movies that we have done episodes on. And music by Alan Silvestri, who's also done a shitload of really good movies, including the Avengers series and Forrest Gump and Back to the Future. There was a lot of cues in this movie that sounded like Back to the Future to me. Did you catch that near the end when they were like, with the taxi, the animated taxi and all that kind of chasing stuff? It sounded really, really similar to Back to the Future to me.
Especially the parts where he was chasing Tweety Bird.
Mm-hmm. Very similar.
Oh, Sylvester. Thank you. You didn't get that. I'm going to step
Sylvester,
on
yes,
you.
I heard you. I heard that. I'm like, oh, what did that happen? No, is he talking about Sylvester? Yeah. All right. Released June 22nd, 1988. Budget of $50.6 million. Box office $351 million. 3 Academy Awards, 1 for visual effects, editing, and best sound effects editing, and a special Academy Award to Richard Williams for animation direction. So, yeah.
Those of us in the know call him Dick Williams.
Dick Williams. And I think maybe we're animation snobby because at that point we were watching animation from Japan a little bit and seeing some of the stuff they could do that maybe kind of made us a little bit less affected by what happened in this movie. And I agree with your assessment. I felt disappointed or kind of like underwhelmed when I saw the movie, even though I know it was an achievement. I was still kind of meh.
Well, and there was consistency issues. I'm artsy fartsy. My job, I do a lot of the artsy fartsy. But okay, the little baby actor, the little baby,
mm-hmm.
the way he is and his size and his body shape when he's in the opening scene when he storms off, and then when he's in the pram outside his office, completely different. He looked like a little homunculus bodybuilder in that thing. That like totally went off of whatever their character
model
sheet design was. I have gripes.
So cast: Bob Hoskins as Eddie Valiant, Christopher Lloyd making iconic nightmare-inducing presence as Judge Doom, Charles Fleischer as Roger Rabbit, and Kathleen Turner as Jessica Rabbit. And it's obvious it's Kathleen Turner's voice. I think Judge Doom, Christopher Lloyd did a really good job in that role. And I think especially people around David's age were probably scared of him when they saw it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was terrifying. I noticed he had this weird paint thing on his. Did you guys see that at all? Catch that on his jawline?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It was much easier. I'd never noticed that the first look through.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out why they did that.
And when he acted, he never closed his eyes. His eyes were always open. During every take, he never blinked during each take to make him a little more uncanny and odd. And that poor shoe, that little animated shoe that got dipped, that was always kind of scary.
Yeah, that gave little kids nightmares.
Yeah, it did. And I always read, one of my favorite things is to read if they have like a Reddit thread about what movies or shows gave you nightmares in, when you were a kid. And of course, Neil's putting the Jessica Rabbit beaver shot, which was an Easter egg for a long, long time until people got DVD players and were able to slow it down
and see that.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
I think Bob Hoskins, unironically hairy man. I was talking with my wife when we were watching it because she kept like yelling at me to like stay awake. Because when I'm enthralled with a movie, when I find a movie interesting, it makes me sleepy. I don't know, maybe that happens to you guys. It just happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
But was looking at Bob Hoskins. You know who I think he would have been really if they would have made that film at the time, who he would have been great cast as.
There was rumors that he would be Wolverine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
as I was watching it, I was like, he would have been great.
Yeah,
he had the voice. He got the build.
Bub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think a lot of people agree with you because there were, people are talking about fantasy casting back in the day of early after Spider-Man came out and like who would be a good Wolverine? I'm like, Bob Hoskins because he's perfect for the role because he's a hairy, muscular little guy or a stocky little guy.
Hairy, muscular little guy.
There's trivia that Tim Curry auditioned for the role of Judge Doom, but it was rejected because producers found him too terrifying. Now that I would like to have seen because Tim Curry brings it whatever he's in, so he would have been pretty scary.
He got to hold it down as darkness for us. So
yeah, and then Pennywise just a couple years later.
Yeah,
and maybe he was in Clue at that time during that time too, which he did a good job in. You want to hit us with a critical consensus? You're going to disagree with a lot of this.
I've read it, and I think that yes, I do. Who Framed Roger Rabbit received near universal acclaim from critics, making Business Insider's best comedy movies of all time, according to Critics List, because critics are always right. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes gave the film an approval rating of 96% based on 74 reviews and ignored the other reviews that listed it far below, and an average rating of 8.5 of 10. The site's critical consensus reads, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is an innovative and entertaining film. We'll see right there if that's incorrect. It's innovative. That features a groundbreaking mix of live action and animation with a touching and original story to boot.
Touching though?
Yeah, touching. Maybe it's because he decides to put the booze down and like pick his life back up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna choose it makes it that.
Okay.
All right. Metacritic has a calculated weight average score 83 out of 100 based on 15 reviews, indicating universal acclaim. Who Framed Roger Rabbit was placed on 43 critics' top 10 lists, third to only The Thin Blue Line and Bull Durham in 1988. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. The movies that they chose for 88 for those two, Thin Blue Line and Bull Durham.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there it is. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, which makes us once again realize that there is something wrong with the public education system. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 4 stars out of 8. Oh shit, 4 out of 4.
4 out of 8. Like,
calling it. I'm going to stop because the people listening don't know how much I'm fucking around when I do these. So I'm trying to be helpful to all 4 people. Calling it a sheer enchantment, entertainment from the first frame to the last poorly animated one. A joyous, giddy, goofy celebration of the kind of fun you would have if you didn't draw well and had a job as an animator on a movie. I'm adding that in. He writes that the opening cartoon is a masterpiece. I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard when I wasn't peering at my emaciated frame naked in the mirror stepping out of the shower.
You're so mean.
But then when a stunt goes wrong and the cartoon baby stalks off the set and lights a cigar and tells a human director go to hell, we know we're in a new and special universe where it's okay for babies to smoke. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune praised the film's dazzling, jaw-dropping, opening 4-minute sequence of schlock. He noted that the sequence alone took nearly 9 months to animate because they went so slow and wasted so much time that they could have better animated other parts of the film. Siskel gave the film 3.5 stars out of 2. Ebert and his colleague, it just sounds better that way. Ebert and his colleague Siskel spent a considerable amount of time in the Siskel and Ebert episode in which they reviewed the film, analyzing its painstaking filmmaking and the painstaking effect of people watching it who had hoped for more. In evaluating their top 10 films of the year, Siskel ranked it number 2, while Ebert ranked it as number 8. Here's our girl right here. Here she comes. Janet Maslin of the New York Times commented that this is a film whose best moments are so novel, so deliriously funny, and so crazily unexpected that they truly must be seen to believe. Which tells me that Janet had a rough week that week. Desson Thompson of the Washington Post. I don't know why that name is funny to me. Destin Thompson.
Destin.
It sounds like a shampoo. Considered Roger Rabbit to be a definitive collaboration of pure talent. Zemeckis had Walt Disney Pictures' enthusiastic backing, producer Steven Spielberg's pull, Warner Brothers' blessing, Canadian animator Richard Williams' ink and paint, Mel Blanc's voice, Jerry Price and Peter Seaman's witty, frenetic screenplay, George Lucas's industrial light and magic, and Bob Hoskins' comical performance as the burly, shaggiest private eye, and a 14-year-old boy's attention to detail. Gene Shalit on the Today Show also praised the film, calling it one of the most extraordinary movies ever made because Gene was known to do drugs at this time. Filmsite.org called it a technically marvelous film and a landmark that resulted from unprecedented cooperation between Warner Brothers and Disney. That was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
On CNN's 2019 miniseries, The Movies, Tom Hanks called it the most complicated movie ever made. Tom, you're an American treasure, but you're incorrect. Richard Corliss, a writer for Time, said the opening scene upstages the movie that emerges from it. True, sir. He said, Corliss was mainly annoyed by the homages to the golden age of American animation. Chuck Jones made a rather scathing attack on the film in his book, Chuck Jones Conversations. Among his complaints, Jones accused Zemeckis of robbing Richard Williams of any creative input and ruining the piano duel that both Williams and he storyboarded.
It's interesting from Chuck Jones, who's probably one of the greatest, most well-known animators ever. Yeah, I've always thought that the piano duel between Donald Duck and Daffy Duck was kind of lame, especially when you consider the two people, Donald Duck and Daffy Duck. Of course, Daffy Duck being 100 times more entertaining than Donald Duck in my eyes. But yeah, that was meh.
I used to love in the cartoons when he get his beak shot off.
Yes, of course. Yes.
He'd be kind of hanging out there and his beak would be
Chuck
just kind of
Jones.
doing its own thing, and I got to slap that back on.
Well, before we started recording, I sat down and I went down and got the Blu-rays of the Platinum Collection Looney Tunes Blu-rays that I have that have some of the greatest old school, Warner Brothers cartoons. And I have a Tex Avery Blu-ray with has some of the best Droopy cartoons and Screwy Squirrel and all the other crazy cartoons that he did. And even though that first beginning animated part with Roger Rabbit and the baby, they tried to do it, but it just doesn't capture the energy of those Warner Brothers cartoons. You just can't. I don't know what it is. If you watch something, and like here recently on HBO Max or Max, they did some new Looney Tunes, and they suck. They're so bad. The voices are off. The comedy is forced. I don't know what it is. It just can't capture that.
And to top it all off, the kids were on your lawn. No, I agree. It's tough, man. Those were just, I think, technically so much better.
And not to say that there's not any good animation going on. There is some really good animation, obviously. And there's one kid's show called Gravity Falls that was on Disney. That was one of the best, most funny, layered animated shows that I've seen. And it holds up. It's such a good show and it's super, super funny. But they were doing their own thing. They weren't trying to recreate that genre of cartoons that Warner Brothers classics did.
Did you watch all the episodes of Gravity Falls? Favorite episode is we're sitting there watching just because it's fun. You can have it on in the background while you're like cooking dinner and stuff and still kind of goof with the family. When they get the ray that shoots the pig, it increases its intelligence, and then its voice is Dr. Tyson.
Yeah, it's a really good one. My favorite is Summerween, when they have a Halloween during the summer and they have like the haunted watermelons and stuff like that. That was really really funny. And the only way to kill the zombies was through karaoke. Really bad karaoke harmony or whatever. That was super funny.
Pitch in, Dave.
David, did you watch a lot of David, did you watch a lot of Looney Tunes when you were a kid?
Yeah, I watched Wile E. Coyote. That was probably the biggest one I watched. The Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Yeah,
and Andrew used to love the Roadrunner as a little kid. He used to play those all the time. Yeah. And my cable package doesn't have Boomerang. And I used to love Boomerang because they still showed older stuff. Like in the mornings, they still show Tom and Jerry and, Warner Brothers cartoons. and we don't have it. It kind of bums me out because that was still fun every once in a while if you're sitting around and you could watch the classics still.
Yeah, I used to have an old VHS of Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah,
And
those are always pretty fun.
Yeah,
They hold up.
I remember when I remember smoking some weed and watching it in my bedroom when I was eating some cereal. Classic cliche.
That's pretty. That holds up. That's true to your.
At any point while you were doing that, did you talk to the strange men who came into your room and asked them to bring back some cleaning products or anything like that, or any empty honey bears hanging around?
No, but I used to eat when I knew. I used to eat cereal out of just a pot. I just pour the cereal in a pot and pour the milk, like you would cook your macaroni and cheese in, and I just walk down the hall with that little pot and a large spoon, and I'd go in the bedroom and put the old VHS in and sit there and watch it and eat after I smoke weed in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Cereal of choice. What's the cereal of choice, Dave?
Yeah, what was your favorite cereal?
Lucky Charms.
They're magically delicious. I got to say, if I'm going with a crap cereal now, and I can't find it anymore. I used to love it because I used to love to make Rice Krispie treats with it. Was the peanut butter Captain Crunch?
Oh yeah, it's good, but it doesn't taste the same anymore.
No, it doesn't.
There's something they took they changed the. I don't know if whatever the sweetener is different. It doesn't taste the same. Same with Sugar Smacks. Don't taste the same. Honeycombs don't taste the same. Cookie Crisp doesn't taste the same. It doesn't have that instant jolt of sugary awesomeness that you remember as a kid.
It was always Frosted Mini Wheats. That was the
Frosted Mini Wheats still the same. They're pretty good, but they're more of a respectable cereal to me. Frosted Mini Wheats and Frosted Flakes.
Don't eat it.
I'm lame. I mean, since I quit training, I've noticed my waistline keeps expanding. So I've been trying to eat better. So I eat like the keto cereals, like the Catalina Crunch, and that's just nothing but sadness. Nothing but sad. Just sitting there wishing that it was a better cereal. Honey Nut Cheerios is a splurge for me right now.
Yeah, or even Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That is.
Oh, shut your whore mouth, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Mix that into some Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah.
Make some Rice Krispie treats, put that in there. Amazing stuff. School bake sale time. Let's go. Boom.
Well, I remember for us, back in the day, that Mr. T cereal, which tasted pretty much like honeycombs.
Yeah.
And then they had the Star Wars, which tasted like Cheerios, regular Cheerios, not Honey Nut Cheerios or anything like that. And yeah, there was a lot of Ghostbusters cereal with like the ghost marshmallows in it. I remember that.
Yeah.
Pac-Man cereal. And there was like Nintendo Entertainment cereal. One was like Link, like Legend of Zelda Link cereal. And then the other one was Metroid or something. I remember it was the Nintendo cereal system. That was amazing. We digress.
I really want a big bowl of Cocoa Puffs right now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
how good would that be?
Count Chocula, Boo Berry.
Never. You know what? I couldn't get behind the Boo Berry or Frankenberry.
Yeah, it's not great. Frankenberry's not good either. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me the chocolate. That's the way to go.
Yeah, Count Chocula. I can get behind totally. Yeah.
Rice Krispies, snap, crackle, pop, disappointment.
Yeah, kind of bland.
Yeah, that's why you mix it with the melted marshmallows and the Captain Crunch, or the Fruity Pebbles, and make some Rice Krispie treats.
Fruity Pebbles. Oh, those are really good.
Yeah. I should not come on here when I'm even slightly jonesing for.
I know right now. I'm like, what kind of cereal do we have?
I'm gonna get right off this. I'm gonna eat some cereal.
No, when I retire in 7 years, I'm gonna go back to smoking weed, watching cartoons, and eating cereal. This is making me excited for the future. I've got something to look forward to finally.
Right, I'm retiring in 9 because I can't retire till I'm 62. I will meet you there. Coming out to California. Where you and Dave going? Mind your business.
Well, some of the highlights of the plot, going back to the movie, some of the highlights of the plot that did make me laugh is when, the Valiant goes and takes pictures with Acme, and Jessica, and they're like, instead of like they're playing patty cake, and they really were playing patty cake. That just made me laugh. Just picture after picture of them playing patty cake. That cracked me up. I thought it was super funny.
You know what's even funnier than that? The fact that I can tell how you feel about a movie when I look through the show notes really quickly. I think this movie you summed up in like 15 sentences.
Yeah.
Like 15 points. And normally it's like a page and a half to 2 pages.
Oh yeah.
And I think this would be even less if I hadn't put that picture of Jessica Rabbit in as we went down it.
Yeah, to be 100% honest with you, I enjoy the movie, but there's really not that many highlights. I think the one that everybody can agree upon is Judge Doom, especially at the end where he's like, "Remember me, Eddie? I killed your brother." That was the best part of the entire movie when, he gets squashed and then he fills himself back up, and then you can see the little daggers for eyes, and how he could use his arm as different weapons and everything. That was badass. If they had more of that in the movie would have been better, instead of a lot of like terrible chases. And I don't know. I just feel disappointed in the movie, and that's and I wanted to do it again because I hadn't seen it in forever, and it's considered such a classic. But yeah, it's for a classic, it's not that memorable to me.
Well, what about if they redid it, but they had a cosplay version of Jessica Rabbit? Would you watch it again?
Sure.
That was Dave. You sat in silence all the time to ask that dumbass question when you knew exactly what that answer was going to be.
I did like the weasel henchmen laughing themselves to death after being like, "You're going to die that way," and then they do. That was pretty funny. Bob Hoskins acted his ass off. Physically did a great job. He did everything he could with the role that he was given. I got to give kudos to him for doing what he did and having to act that way with nothing and try to do it believable. I think he did a really good job.
I know exactly what I've related this film to in my life and what it does. Okay, so I take my kid to the art museum, all right, and I am prepping him, and I am telling him why this art is good, why it's considered this particular genre, this particular artistic movement, and this particular artist, why this is considered good, and some of it considered masterworks. And my son is sitting there, he's going to see all this amazing stuff, and he goes in with all of this expectation, but then when he looks at it, he goes, "Is that a sculpture of a giant spoon? Is it just a spoon, Dad?" Yeah, but what he's doing with the pop art, yeah, it's just kind of a spoon. I think after hearing you talk about all the stuff you watch and what it took to put it together, that this movie really was just kind of a spoon.
Yeah, a army of people took to put this movie together, and like I said, I respect the technical achievements, but the story lacks to me, and just I was
you understand why the art was made, you understand when the art was made, but when you look at it, it's just a spoon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sad.
I looked up a list of cameos of all the cartoons that were in Roger Rabbit. And of course,
that was pause-worthy. That was I actually stopped it just to try to pick out characters.
Mm-hmm. So Walt Disney, there was Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Goofy, Pluto, Pete. I'm not sure who the hell Pete is.
Pete is the big guy that is always harassing Goofy.
Oh, okay.
He always had the cigar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Horace, Horse Collar, Clarabelle Cow, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I like that they were kidnapped and Valiant set them free or whatever. There was like a little exposition when they were panning through his office, and apparently they were held for ransom. Gus Goose, Clara Duck, Elmer Elephant, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, yes. Ferdinand from Ferdinand the Bull, Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket, Fantasia characters. Yeah, a lot of those. Bambi. Dumbo, of course, was in there. That was definitely a memorable cameo. Tinkerbell. But in Warner Brothers, you had Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Porky Pig, Yosemite Sam, Tweety Bird, Sylvester, Foghorn Leghorn. That boy is about as smart as a bag of wet mice. No. I always love me some Foghorn Leghorn. Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, Marvin the Martian, Sam the Sheepdog, Speedy Gonzales, and some more of the obscure ones. But from MGM, Droopy, Meathead Dog, Benny the Burro. I didn't see Tom and Jerry. Interesting. Yeah, of course, Betty Boop. Yeah, that was probably one of the best parts of the fun parts of the movie. Like you said, to pause it and kind of like pick who you could see out of the from different characters, and of course Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny having a scene together when he's falling with their parachutes and stuff like that, and that was kind of cool. But yeah,
never take the spare from Bugs Bunny. From someone who spent so much time around Toons, that guy didn't know shit. You take a spare from Mickey. You never take a spare from Bugs.
Yeah.
As soon as when you hit the ground and you splatter and all that compression, your eyes pop out and your anus inverts and it sprays all over the place. Okay. And then what's Bugs going to do? He's going to float down gently next to you and goes, "You should have taken the left turn at Albuquerque."
Or you can say, "Ain't I a stinker?" That's probably what it said.
Oh yeah. Ain't I a stinker?
Brother. I always like the way I was watching some Bugs Bunny and just his accent and the way he says brother.
That's something that really gets me too. Every guy our age calling each other brother.
Let me tell you, brother.
That's what it reminds me of. I was getting gas today, and I went in to go pay, and I opened the door, and this guy comes out. "Thanks, brother."
I had somebody call me Pops the other day at the grocery store. Came around the corner too fast. They came around the corner too fast, and they're like, "Oh, excuse me, Pops." I'm like, "Uh-huh."
Well, I mean, it's a term of endearment, and also because you look like shit. You look really bad. You look old.
Thanks.
Well, let's talk about the other movies that came out in 1988. Interesting year for movies. Number 1 was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, $156 million domestic. Coming to America, which is a classic, came out in as number 2. Good Morning Vietnam, which I saw when it came out, but I've never seen since. Don't really care to see it again either. I remember thinking it's all right. It was, Robin Williams is trying to get more serious with his roles back then. Big, that's a good one, classic. Crocodile Dundee 2, that's a knife. I've never seen part 2. 3 Men and a Baby, never saw it. Die Hard, we've done an episode on. Moonstruck is a classic. I really enjoyed that one. That's definitely a good romantic comedy.
Yeah, I'm down to number 46 on this list, and I've seen every one of these goddamn movies.
You're down to 46, and you've seen them all?
Yeah, well, I had my driver's license at then, so...
Yeah, Beetlejuice, A Fish Called Wanda.
Alien Nation.
Oh, yeah, we should do that sometime. Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that movie.
A Fish Called Wanda. Willow, we've done an episode on. Rambo 3. Scrooged, Bull Durham. Twins. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. The Dream Master. We've done that one. Colors. I'm a nightmare walking. Psychopath talking. King of my jungle, just a something stalking. Anyway, yeah. Young Guns, Naked Gun. That was on the TV the other day. Still funny as shit.
Still a classic. It's a goddamn classic.
I just love when Drebin's hanging out the window. And he's hanging from the statue, and then he's pulling himself up, and his mouth is open. The lady's screaming out. Just kills me.
I'm at 88, and I've seen every film so far on this list.
The Great Outdoors. The only thing I remember that is that gigantic steak that John Candy had to eat. The old 96er or something like that. Bambi, Midnight Run, The Deadpool. I remember Jim Carrey miming to Welcome to the Jungle in that movie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Man Before Time, Oliver and Company, Red Heat. Child's Play, we've done a episode on. Classic. Rain Man, The Accused. Ernest Saves Christmas. Throw Mama from the Train. Man, we went to the movies a lot. I remember seeing so many of these in the theater.
I'm at number 126, and so far I've seen every film on this list.
Wall Street, The Trade, Eddie Murphy Raw, License to Drive, Short Circuit 2, Action Jackson, Serpent in the Rainbow. That's a pretty good Wes Craven movie. I don't know if it's good. I haven't seen it in forever, but it was memorable. Halloween 4.
Clara's Heart, found a movie I haven't watched on the list. Clara's
Big
Heart.
Top Pee-wee. Arthur 2. School Days. That's a good one. The Spike Lee one. Milagro Beanfield War. Stand and Deliver. Bloodsport. Man, 88.
This list is making me feel bad about what I did with my childhood.
Return of the Living Dead. U2 Rattle and Hum. Every time I clap my hands, a child in Africa dies.
Stop clapping your hands, you cunt.
Last Temptation of Christ. The Blob. The Blob is such a good remake. That's an amazing one. Phantasm 2. Holy crap, man. There's a lot of good movies. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Monkey Shines. Yeah.
Down at 196, The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal
Oh my
Gears.
God, that is a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I just remember Chris Holmes from Wasp drinking like a whole handle of vodka in his pool. He's trashed. God Created Woman. I remember watching that one with Rebecca De Mornay. Yep.
Dude, Spellbinder, way down the list. I remember renting that. If you see the box cover for that, you'll know that movie.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! So many of these I've rented. Spellbinder rented that one. This was what I was 15, almost 16. So this was prime renting movies age, where your parents didn't give a shit about what you watched, and you would just go and just rent movies over and over again. Lair of the White Worm. That was a rental. I rented the shit out of that one. Moon Junction.
That was definitely.
Shirley
I remember watching that at your house.
Yes, that was a classic. Yeah, that was one. These were all movies that definitely. Pumpkinhead.
Leonard Part 6. I actually went and watched. I went and watched that in the theater. Yes, dude, I had my driver's license. You know what it was like out where we lived. I was any excuse to go into town.
Wow. My Stepmother is an Alien. Dead Ringers. That's a good Cronenberg. Yeah, good movies as that year. It's unusual. It's kind of odd to see these, and I'm like you. I've seen a lot of them. Not as many as you have, but I've seen quite a bit of those.
So there was 2 on there, and another one I didn't see was Sammy and Clara Get Laid. I have not seen that one, but I've looked, and it's almost 100% completion rate on this list.
Biloxi Blues, saw that one. Yeah, that was definitely prime renting movie age, between going to the movies, HBO, and videos that have had a lot of those covered.
Well, going to the movies, renting movies, and HBO at your house.
So before we started recording, I was thinking about the context of cartoons and how important they were for me growing up, especially Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry. And even when Hanna-Barbera moved over to like Scooby-Doo, and I watched a few minutes of the old Scooby-Doo, man, the animation was so bad, but those were so memorable as a kid, because I would wake up at like 7 a.m. before school and watch Scooby-Doo every morning.
Or get home, because at 3:30, that's when they started back up.
Yeah.
After school cartoons.
And I was telling Andrew about all the Scooby-Doo knockoffs, kind of like the same formula, but different character. Like Captain Caveman was basically Scooby-Doo. Just there was a caveman. Jabberjaw was
Captain Caveman.
Hong Kong Phooey, Josie and the Pussycats, Jabberjaw. What was the other one? Dune Buggy. It was like a talking dune buggy that everybody ride in and they would solve mysteries too. There's so many Scooby-Doo ripoffs.
When he was like, he was talking.
Yeah. Yes. Grape Ape was another Scooby-Doo ripoff. Do you remember these, Dave?
No, some of them.
You don't remember Grape Ape? You don't remember that? Grape Ape.
See, Scooby-Doo ripoffs. 10 animated Scooby-Doo ripoffs. The Funky Phantom. I do remember that one. Do you remember the Funky Phantom, where there was like who was the guy who was on Hollywood Squares all the time? Paul Lynde.
Paul Lynde, yes.
Yeah, I think he was the voice of the Phantom. Jeez, whatever. Speed Buggy. Yes, that's what it was called. Inch High Private Eye. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids. I never saw that one. Jesus. Goober and the Ghost Chasers.
Mighty Mouse. Yeah, there were so many.
The Clue Club. Jabberjaw. Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. That lasted from 1977 to 1980. Buford and the Galloping Ghost. Never saw that one.
Holy crap. These are
the new Shmoo. Remember Shmoo?
Yeah, I remember Shmoo. when he wasn't hanging out with that family.
The Herculoids.
The Herculoids, there we go.
With Gleep and Gloop or Gloop and Gleep or whatever it is, the Herculoids. That was my jam, though. I did enjoy the Herculoids. That was pretty cool. And Thundar the Barbarian.
With Ookla the Mock.
Yes.
And Ariel.
Ookla was basically Chewbacca.
Yep.
And Thundar had the Sun Sword or whatever, so that was like a huge Star Wars.
He would jump off that jacked up looking horse with the mohawk. Ee-ah-hee!
But we lived for the cartoons on Saturday, though. That was because there was. I remember in The Shining, Danny is sitting there eating a cereal and they're watching their Roadrunner show. Remember that Roadrunner? Beep beep. That it was like that was a TV
I know.
show.
I can hum that for you, but I'm not going to bust out those lyrics. That was too much.
Yeah, but that was cartoons have been there for us always, and I'm still surprised how Scooby-Doo lives on. We're looking at all the made-for-video Scooby-Doo movies that were on HBO or on Max, and they have like one with like John Cena. It's like with WWE Mysteries, and there's one with Kiss as the guest stars, and there's
the Velma series. The new Velma series was entertaining. I enjoyed it because it was pretty funny too. A lot of adult humor.
And then there was one of the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries. I remember as a kid, there was always like Sonny and Cher and the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, what the hell are they on the show? Do you remember that?
It was okay. So in the 70s, it was, you always had like guest appearances because that was the thing. It was like to be a celebrity. Mm-hmm. And so they started doing it in cartoons. So you could tune in and watch Battle of the Network Stars and see all these guys. And
Battle of the Network Stars.
Get Your Life Changed by Linda Carter.
Yes. Oh my God. David,
Eric and I both know what we're talking about.
When we are off, or you can look it up on your phone, look up Linda Carter on Battle of the Network Stars. It was a life-changing moment for many a young man. I remember Cheryl Ladd, who was always my favorite, Charlie's Angel. She was like on Circus of the Stars, and she was doing like some sort of circusy trapeze thing, and that was very stimulating to me as a young man.
Look it up.
I know he's looking at it right now. You can see that look of concentration on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I see it. And we've actually talked about this before on one of our previous episodes. You guys have mentioned this, and I looked it up then.
Oh, we'd mentioned Linda Carter? I guess, it's worth mentioning twice.
You're welcome for reminding me right now.
And listeners, all four of you, as Neil says, check out Linda Carter, Battle of the Network Stars. There was another one with Heather Thomas and Heather Locklear were on Battle of the Network Stars at the same time because one was on The Fall Guy and the other one was on TJ Hooker. And I always preferred Heather Thomas over Heather Locklear. Hot take. Yeah. I'm seeing it right now. That's my hot take.
That's his hill. He's going to die on it.
I know you want to see a BuzzFeed article. Podcaster declares Heather Thomas is hotter than Heather Locklear. Controversial feedback. Trying to get those views.
Got to get the clickbait. We take the clickbait. We get 5 listeners, maybe 6. Maybe one that's female. I don't know. I doubt it. Not the way we go at this show.
We're mansplaining.
Well, I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think we're mansplaining. I think what we're doing is trying to relate this in a way that's much easier for the layperson to understand. Did you get the irony?
Our demographic,
being
the males
ironic.
between 45 and 55.
Too bad we can't get age information on who listens.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. That would be interesting.
That would be so cool. And just find like just across the country and the world, it's just like rest homes.
Anytime I see an international listener, like somebody listening from another country, Jamie says, they're just trying to learn English. They just picked a podcast. Well, thanks, hon. Thanks for the...
These are some people that are planning a trip to New Mexico in their future and just want to go, Umbers. Shit.
That's all sick, bro.
It's all sick. They just want to know how to talk like that.
Hey, speaking of New Mexico, today I listened to a podcast on the prison riots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I remember watching some documentaries about that, and it was pretty interesting how they were so brutal to other people in other cell blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy
the
stuff.
Mexico prison riot.
It was all sick, bro.
I listen to podcasts about how to become a better member of my community, how to let go of past regrets and grow as an adult man and not to pass on generational trauma. But I mean, if that's what you guys want to listen to, fine.
Mm-hmm.
No trauma in my life.
Well, that was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I feel a little bad. We kind of had to stretch it out, but it was good. So I think a lot of people enjoy it. There's some stuff there to enjoy, but to me, it's kind of a letdown, to be honest.
Oh, all right. I completely agree with you, everything you just said. But what I would like to put out there for all four of the listeners is that maybe instead of watching this film, you just listen to our last podcast that we did on The Shining. Oh, wait a minute. No, never mind.
I'm sorry.
But you hung on through the entire episode, David, so that's good. You didn't have to rejoin, so everything should be good. Knock on wood. So
that was a microphone. You do not have a wooden microphone.
So
thank you.
Cool. Next week we'll be doing the Princess Bride. I haven't seen that in forever.
That'd be fun.
I remember enjoying it. So marriage. So
that's what brings us together today.
Lots of super funny people in that movie. But yeah, check it out. And we appreciate you listening. Glad we have an episode this week, and hopefully we'll keep it up. So
RVS Podcast 222 at gmail.com. We are on the Instagrams. We are on the Facebook. And I am waiting the prerequisite amount of time for my Instagram to delete itself so I can start a new one so that I can have a Threads that is not directly attached to my personal Instagram, because really all I do with Instagram is look for updates on the UFC and videos of my favorite chefs. So that'll be...
I send you obnoxious reels all the time.
Yeah, well, as I do to you. I've been trying to... every time I do that, I remember like, you know what? Dave should have seen this. So I've been trying to post them more in our group chat.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Dave.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't have social media.
Do you even watch them?
Yeah.
Okay, you fucking better. Shit. Going through all that effort.
Thanks, Neil.
Control paste. Oh, yeah, and buy us a coffee. Do your goddamn job, Eric. Buy us a coffee wherever that is, and you find us there, and then you could have an option to buy us coffee, and that will help fund the podcast because Eric's work won't let him make extra cash, so we didn't get that ball trimmer money.
Yeah, buymeacoffee.com. Look up the Retro Video Store, and you can contribute to the cause. We appreciate it. And David, any last words for today, this week?
No. Have a good weekend or week.
All right, everybody, take care. Have a good one.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.